And we continue with Chapter 3, Respect Your Way to Yes. This section is respect them for your sake. Giving respect to the other may sometimes seem like the last thing we feel like doing. After what he did to me, no way. Why should I? We may feel that person doesn't deserve our respect, particularly if he is acting disrespectfully toward us. Since these feelings are perfectly natural, it is important to understand why giving respect serves our interests. When I'm dealing with an armed criminal, my first rule of thumb is simply to be polite, explains Dominic Messino, who in his career with the New York Police Department negotiated more than 200 hostage incidents, including a plane hijacking, without losing a single life. This sounds trite, I know, but it is very important. A lot of times the people I'm dealing with are extremely nasty, and the reason for this is that their anxiety level is so high. A guy armed and barricaded in a bank is in a fight-or-flight mode. To defuse the situation, I've got to try to understand what's going on in his head. The first step to getting there is to show him respect, which shows my sincerity and my reliability. Hostage negotiators, such as Messino, specialize in saying no. They cannot agree to the hostage taker's demands for freedom, so the challenge is how to say no and still get to yes. The safe release of the hostages and the peaceful surrender of the hostage taker. The key first step is respect. An obvious reason to give respect to the other is because it works. In my own work as a mediator in ethnic wars, I have had to deal with leaders who have had blood on their hands. I do not approve of their behavior. I may not like them personally, but if I want them to accept a no to violence, bring about a ceasefire, save the lives of children, the only way I have found that works is to approach them through basic human respect. It's train time. All right. The other is more likely to pay attention to us if we pay attention to them first. They are more likely to listen to us if we listen to them first. In short, they are more likely to respect us and our interests if we respect them and theirs. I have a real strict policy with my kids, says Celia Carrillo, a dedicated teacher in a school in a tough, low-income neighborhood. It takes me about 2 to 4 weeks at the beginning of school to establish the policy. I just lay down the law that no one will call anyone names, and I just push respect, respect, respect. I believe that if I respect my kids, they will respect me, and I have never found that to be any different. I am not saying I get the best kids, but by the time they leave my classroom, everybody wants to have my kids because they have learned respect and manners. For the most part, kids are starving for affection and for respect. They are so used to getting yelled at by their friends or at home. They find you are not yelling back at them. When they find you are not yelling back at them, they appreciate it and they learn to respect in return. Remember that in saying no, you are telling the other something they probably do not want to hear. Respect tends to make the other more receptive to understanding your message instead of simply dismissing it. It can diminish the intensity of a negative reaction and enhance the chances of a favorable response. The more powerful the no you intend to deliver, the more respect you need to show. If they listen to us, it is because we give them what they want most, respect, said one French Muslim community mediator who interceded to me to say no to the rioting by Muslim youth in France in November of 2005. If you respect them, they respect you. We went right between the two sides, and a lot of the kids listened to us. The damage the next day was a lot less serious than the previous nights. In addition to establishing a short-term connection, respect can help build a longer-term relationship. A relationship of mutual respect greatly enhances your ability to influence the other. Giving respect is the equivalent of making a deposit in the bank of personal goodwill so that you can then make a withdrawal when you face a difficult situation. Respect is the cheapest concession you can give the other. It costs you little and gets you a lot. It is probably no coincidence that the most successful car company in the world, Toyota, makes respect for employees, business partners, host communities, and of course, customers, one of its core guiding principles. Respect, in short, is the key that opens the door to the other's mind and heart. When you give respect to the other, don't think of yourself as doing them a favor. Think of it as doing yourself a favor. Because in the end, it can help you get your needs met. Respect makes sense not only because it is the right thing to do, but also because it is the effective thing to do. Respect the other for your own sake. There are two principal ways to demonstrate your positive attitude of respect: listening and acknowledgement. So we start with listening. Listen attentively. Perhaps the simplest way to show respect is to listen with positive attention. Listen to what the other is trying to communicate. Listen for what underlying interests and needs may be driving them. Recall the old saying that God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. Many years ago, I was a guest on a talk show, and a caller asked for advice about how to deal with her 5-year-old son, who was exasperating her. He never listens to me. What can I do? I thought for a moment and asked the caller, well, do you listen to him? There was a silence on the line before she replied, no, but, excuse me, listening may be the last thing you feel like doing, especially if the other is behaving offensively. Why should I listen to them? They should be listening to me, you might think. But how can you expect them to listen to you if you do not listen to them? Indeed, when you are about to deliver an important no, listening may be the most effective way to prepare the other to hear and understand your message. In one tough union management negotiation, headed straight for an impasse and destructive strike, the union representative decided to try a different approach before delivering his no to management's demands. Instead of countering management's story of financial woe, he simply started listening. He paid genuine attention to what they were saying. He asked lots of questions. His management counterparts were taken aback. This had never happened before. As they reported later, they felt heard and respected. That was the word they used, respected. In turn, they began to develop more respect for the union representative. Thus, when it came to the union's turn to explain their needs, management began to listen to the union. This surprising exercise in mutual listening proved to be the turning point in the negotiation. The devastating strike that was widely expected by all never materialized. Listening may be hard, but the rewards can be great. So show your respect by letting the other have their say. Try not to interrupt. Indeed, do the opposite. When the other has finished talking, surprise them positively by asking them if they have anything more they want to say. It is remarkable how much useful information you can learn by listening, and how much more effective your no can thereby become. And the next part is listen to understand, not to refute. All too often in tense situations, if we do listen, we listen simply to be able to refute what the other is saying. We treat the dialogue as if it were a debate, and its key objective to score points. That may be appropriate for a debate, but it is not genuine listening. Here, the key objective is not to hear or even to remember the other's words, but to understand their underlying meaning. That's a really long one. Talk to me is really our philosophy, explains police hostage negotiator Hugh McGowan. It's not, here I am, I'm on the phone, and I want you to listen to me. Here's what I am telling you to do. Drop the gun, bop, 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 you know. That's not really what we're all about. It's you tell me, Mr. Hostage Taker, Mr. Barricaded Individual, what's the problem? What's going on? What can we do to help you with your situation? You talk to me. Just as police hostage negotiators begin their no's by listening to the hostage taker, so you can begin your no by trying to understand the other. What is going on for them? By putting yourself in their shoes, you will be much better able to influence the other and persuade them to do what you would like them to do. Just as you have probed behind your no for your underlying interests, needs, and values, now do the same for the other. Ask yourself, what is the underlying interest behind their request or demand? What interests might be motivating their problematic behavior? Probe deeply. You may not always be able to satisfy these interests, but understanding them and taking them into consideration are essential if you are to persuade the other to accept your no, and at the same time preserve the relationship. You may fear that trying to put yourself in their shoes will only distort your judgment and weaken your resolve. But even if you consider the other to be your mortal enemy, remember that the first rule of warfare is to know your enemy. When Nelson Mandela was in prison, one of the first subjects he undertook to study was Afrikaans. Afrikaans, the language of his enemy. It was surprising, even shocking, to many of his comrades, but he studied the language intensively and asked his comrades to do the same. Mandela then proceeded to delve into the history of the Afrikaner people and the tragedy of the Boer War, acquiring a profound understanding of their group, psychology, and culture. In the process, he developed a deep respect for the Afrikaners, for their spirit of independence, their religious devotion, and their courage in battle. This understanding of the other side proved of enormous help later when it came to persuading the government to accept his forthright no to the cruel and unjust system of apartheid. Ask clarifying questions. If you are not sure why the other is making a demand or engaging in inappropriate behavior, don't just guess. Ask. Ask clarifying questions such as, what's the problem here? Or, can you help me understand your needs? Consider the challenge of saying no to a key customer. This was the dilemma faced by software developers of a large, well-known computer company, whose clients were constantly demanding custom solutions based on a limited understanding of the software technology available. For a long time, the software developers said yes, trying to provide good customer service, but the solutions proved too time-consuming and expensive, leaving the customer dissatisfied and the developers' bosses complaining about costs. Yet a straight-out no would also leave the client very unhappy. Then the software team discovered the benefits of asking why and trying to uncover the customer's underlying need. They asked, and why would that feature help you? At first, the customers were a little reluctant to talk about their business needs with tech people. But when they discovered that there were usually features already available that could be configured for their purpose, drastically reducing lead time and cost, they eagerly responded to the new approach. That is the power of asking clarifying questions. Sometimes when you are about to say no to someone, there has been a misunderstanding and you are not in complete possession of the facts. One way to show respect is to give the other the benefit of the doubt until you check out the facts yourself by asking clarifying questions. I'm going to stop right there because the second part is acknowledge the other. And we've only got 7 pages left, so I'll have that last video and that'll finish off chapter 3. Thank you for listening and being with me. If you haven't been up here where I'm shooting from, this is the kind of the back of New Block Park. And it has this incredible overlook over here on the right side here. This is the back side of it, but it has the history of this rock bridge down there. You can see it is extremely interesting. If you get a chance or you haven't been here yet, I'll tag it in my video. You need to make a drive through here and take a look. We're on the back side of one of the refineries. Sorry, I don't know which one. And this is the Arkansas River after it's left the dam. I think we're about approximately 11 miles from the Keystone Dam. But this rockway right here was a bedrock road. And I'm sorry, I cannot exactly remember what it was called, but thieves and robbers and stuff used to wait on the side and then push wagons over and then take their stuff. So it is a very, very interesting little piece of history. So if you get a chance to come by here or look it up, the little thing over here actually has, I'll pull forward, has the whole entire story of this area, and it is very, very, very interesting. So I came up here because this is one of my favorite places to get around and to keep tabs on what's happening with the river. Thank you for being with me today. Thank you for listening. We've been reading the book, The Power of a Positive No by William Ury. I appreciate you.